Hey everyone, and welcome back to another week of cooking. Last week we made karage, which is a really big hit among my family. I'm glad that turned out really well. Sometimes when I do deep frying, it doesn't really turn out well because I don't really know how to get it crisp enough, but we certainly didn't have that problem with the karage. I do the nice double frying method, and I'm really glad that that method worked out. But something that's really important is that you have to have the exact temperatures right, so don't compromise on the temperatures. Just last minute tips on that. Always remember that if you put food in, the temperature of the oil is going to cool down. So always make sure that your temperature of the oil with the food is balanced. That being said, we're going to be doing another recipe this week. I never actually made this before. It's called Huevos Rotos. It's from the New York Times Cooking Again. So it's like the green bean casserole. I've never made it before, so we're gonna have a new adventure making this. This is actually a vegetarian version. Instead of making it with ham and or sausage, we're going to be making it with paprika flakes and some red pepper flakes as well, because that's going to emulate the flavor of the meat without actually putting meat in. But you can totally do this with meat, or you can totally do it with not meat. So we're going to get started. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to cut our potatoes into smaller pieces. This is an entirely optional step, but I suspect with the big pot we have here, we're still going to need more room to fit in all of our potatoes. So we're generally going to chop these potatoes into 1 inch thick pieces. A little more than an inch, but it should be okay. We're basically cutting these big red potatoes in half. It's important that these potatoes are new, as the directions specify. And since they're new, they haven't been cut, so we're going to be cutting them right here. You always want to make sure we're recording. So we'll just cut up our potatoes for a little while longer. I generally say that if the pieces aren't 1 inch, it's okay. Because you're just trying to cut them to reduce their size so you can put them in the pot more easily. I've also seen people do this with I've also seen this be done on the internet with frying pans. So if you have a frying pan that can fit the potatoes, or 1 or 2, you can actually do that. So recording, which is good. There we go. Here are all our potatoes cut. So we have our potatoes nice and cut. I'm going to transfer them back into our bowl for a second so that we can use the rest of our cutting board. But those potatoes are all cut and ready to go in the pot. On to our next step. So in a measuring cup, this measuring cup is filled with olive oil. We're going to be combining olive oil, paprika, red pepper flakes, a half teaspoon, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, a generous ground of pepper, and a cup of water. Never mind, we're doing this 1 cup one. So we have our half cup of olive oil here as the recipe calls for. They really call for a third. They really call for a third cup extra virgin olive oil. So I'm just going to put in a little bit of this because it was just misread. So just put in a third cup. There's always a chance to put in more if you need it as you're cooking the potatoes. So if you don't get the exact amount here, I wouldn't be worried about it. So we'll just pour in roughly a third. We're going to be combining the paprika. So paprika, 2 teaspoons. So we'll get our teaspoon here. This is a half teaspoon, so I'm going to be putting in a couple of these. I believe it's 4. It's 2 teaspoons of paprika. Then we're going to be doing our red pepper flakes. How many pepper flakes in the recipe call for? 1/2 teaspoon. Half teaspoon of red pepper flakes. 1.5 teaspoons of salt. You can cut back on this if your diet calls you to cut back on it, or your nutritional needs call you to cut back on it. But if you can afford it, I definitely recommend putting it in because this is going to emulate the flavors of the ham or chorizo sausage. Though if you want to put ham and chorizo sausage in here, we by all means definitely do that. I couldn't get in the salt and the teaspoon measuring, so I kind of just eyeballed it. If we need more salt, we can put it in as we're cooking. There you go. Now we just need a generous grind of pepper. Didn't really call for a specific amount. So we'll just give this a generous grind. Here we go. Give it some pepper. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put all of our potatoes in our large skillet. In this case, we're doing the Dutch oven because it's one of the biggest things we've got. And we're going to be putting we're going to be bringing potatoes to a, sorry. Alrighty, so we're going to pour our potatoes into the skillet. Then we're going to pour the olive oil mixture over them. So we're going to pour our mixture that we just made all over the potatoes. On all the good gloop on the bottom. Then we're going to turn the heat. Then we're going to bring this mixture up to a boil, and then we're going to cover and then cook them on high heat until the potatoes are tender. We'll cover these and cook them on high heat. Oh, whoops, I forgot to put in a cup of water. That's why I said, sorry, accidentally forgot to put in a cup of water. That's okay. Transfer my egg with olive oil to the bowl. Dry this out, then put in some water. So I was a bit hesitant because I was thinking, oh, what happened to the water? Why did they bring to a boil? No, it turns out we just had to put in a cup of water in. That's okay. I'll just put my water in. It's a half cup. And we'll put 1 cup in. Again, I haven't actually made this before, so I'm still kind of iffy on this recipe. So I'm pretty much learning as you are. There we go. So now we're going to bring this mixture to a boil. So once this water is boiling, then we're going to cover the potatoes and cook them until they're fork tender for 6 to 9 minutes. But the important thing is first this water has to boil. On the bright side, our potatoes got really nice and coated really beautifully. So I'm really happy with how those potatoes turned out. So that's where we're at right now. We're still recording, which is good, and now we're going to wait for this to boil. Now you want to make sure these potatoes don't stick. If you find that the potatoes are sticking, then I would add more olive oil. This mixture is starting to come to a boil. That's good. It's starting like the bare bubbling process. It's not there quite yet. You can start to hear the sizzle, which is good. So it means we're getting somewhere, which is nice. We're just going to have to wait for this to boil fully. Now we're starting to bubble more and more places. Once it gets to a full rolling boil, we'll be able to cover this and cook for 6 to 9 minutes, or until our potatoes are nice and fork tender. Meaning we can pierce them with the fork and they don't give any resistance. Once the middle comes to a boil, I say that's when we cover it. Right now the edges and the circle around the middle are coming to a boil, but once the middle of the pot actually starts to boil, then you'll know we're ready to start covering the pot. Middle's almost there. The middle is starting to have small bubbles. Then once they get to bigger bubbles, we're gonna start. We're gonna cover it and cook for 6 to 9 minutes. I'd say now we're starting to have a adequate bubbling in the middle. We have steam coming out, so now we're going to cover this and cook for 6 to 9 minutes. Started 17, 20. So I'm just doing the mental math in my mind. Okay, so like 23 to 26 minutes is when this is going to be coming out on the filming timer. So, just a couple of fun facts about this dish. It's said to have originated. It's said to have originated in the Canary Islands, off the coast of Spain. So it has a lot of influences. So it has a lot of influences from Spain, also because it can be found all throughout Spain. So I'm bringing this dish. To you from the New York Times cooking website. And this looks like it's going to be a good dish for maybe a brunch or breakfast, or maybe even a lunch. So I'm really glad to be bringing this dish to you right now. Also, this is a good one if you can't have meat in your diet, or if you can or if you just need something generally to make for breakfast or brunch. Maybe even just regular lunch. So the holidays are coming up. I'm really glad that it's this time of year. It's one of my favorites. If you can see your family, that's good. You can celebrate the holidays with people you love. That's really nice. We're glad to see all the decorations and carols. And generally a really nice time of year that I'm glad we're in right now. We've also been having a really weird and mild winter lately, because yesterday where I was, it was 64 degrees and it's December. It's absolutely crazy. I don't understand why. But, I mean, I guess mild winter it is. So. Just really weird. Just gonna uncover quickly and check. That's coming along really nicely with the potatoes. We can't check if they're fork tender just yet. I'm really glad we're in a festive time of year this year. I'm really glad we're in the festive time of year, as I mentioned earlier. I'm gonna check if our potatoes are sticking or dry. That's hot, so always make sure you have an oven mitt. You know I didn't. Probably should have. We're getting some minimal potato stickage here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do what I said earlier. And add just a slight bit of olive oil. Only a little bit because we only have a little stickage. Oh, that was more than a little bit. That was a lot of it. But I want to add it right to the bottom. Where the potatoes that are sticking are going to get the oil. Occasionally you'll want to break up any stickage you'll find down here because you won't want to see the potato stick at the later stages. So always make sure that you break up any stickage that you might see. These potatoes aren't tender just yet, so we're just going to have to wait longer. That's totally okay. They might be tender for you, but not for me just yet. So we'll just wait a little while longer. You may or may not need more olive oil. I did because I had some minor sticking, but you might not, or you might. Who knows how this will turn out for you? This is the first time making it for me, so I have no clue how this is going to turn out. There we go. Make sure as much as touching the pan as possible. Alright, so we're gonna wait roughly 2 more minutes and 30 seconds to see if the potatoes are fork tender. I'm just going to quickly grab my eggs. So what I just did is I quickly grabbed my eggs for later because we're going to need them. Right now we might not, but we're going to need them certainly in a bit. My handy dandy oven mitt. Check, make sure we don't have any stickage. Those potatoes are coming along really nicely. So in a minute we're going to check if they're fork tender. It's just a little bit. So we're still at high heat, but not like blazing high heat. right. Let's check for if they're fork tender. Because I'd hope they are after going on this heat for so long. Just give no resistance. No resistance. Alright, I'd say these are good. So now we're going to uncover these and turn the heat all the way to low. Yeah, those are giving no resistance. These are good. These are very good. Alright, so it looks like this recipe's coming along really well so far. So we're going to uncover this and then turn the heat to low. Great. The next step is we're going to cut up our onions and our garlic. Now they want, or really, actually, before we do our cut up our garlic, they want the potatoes cut side down. If you cut them. So let's get the cut side down, if we can. They want to form an even layer. We can try and do that. Doesn't look like I'll be able to get a full cut side down layer, unfortunately, with my little baby potatoes here. So I'm not going to worry about it too much. I don't think we can have an even layer of the types of potatoes that we're using. But we should still be okay. It's coming apart. These are definitely fork tender potatoes. Alright, now that we have our potatoes cut side down for the most part, or as much as we are able to at this point. Still recording? We are. This is good. There we go. On to the next step. We can finally cut up our onions. We'll just do that. They want these. They want them. They don't really say how they want these. They say, or no, they say finely chopped. So we're gonna chop it finely. So I'll move my camera over here. So we'll just cut them. So rather than doing it like that, we'll cut them finely like this. There we go. Go. Now do the same thing for this one. Just make sure you're always careful when you're cutting up your garlic or in your onions. All right, now now that those onions are chopped, chop up our garlic. Four garlic cloves are chopped, and we have a medium onion finely, or relatively finely chopped. There we go. See, these are good so far. Alright. Let's see, we have our onions and our garlic cut up. Wait, no, sorry. I missed the garlic. There we go. Now we'll add all this good stuff in, our garlic and our onion. Some onions fell off. So now we're going to cover and cook these until the potatoes are golden brown and the onions are softened. So we'll cover those. We'll cover that and then cook for those for a little while, about 4 to 6 minutes. Our potatoes right now are getting deeply cooked and tender, which I'm very glad about. I definitely do want to spread our onions around. You just want these onions to get softened. All right, now at this part, we're just checking to make sure that, or we're just trying to cook for a little while till our onions are nice and softened. I'm just taking it off because I want to estimate to see how much our onions are softened. They're not really that softened yet. So I'll have to raise a little and then just let them soften for a little while longer. This is medium low. I have this on medium low heat right now. So I'll just wait for those to be done. We're gonna have some holiday dishes coming down the pipeline, or the cooking pipeline. So if you want to get excited for that, definitely do get excited for holiday dishes. They're gonna be wonderful to serve. Let's see, do we finally have softened onions? Good question. Those onions are softened, which are good. I don't really know how to judge these without poking them. Let's say they're starting to get softened, which is nice. You don't want them fully translucent. Yeah, I'd say these are getting soft. These are softened. Trying to check the ones around here too. Yeah, I'd say these are maybe one more minute. Or at this point, 30 more seconds. Go. I'd say at this point we do have softened onions. So what we're going to do is we're going to stir our potatoes and our onions here. They're not sticking, which is wonderful, so we don't need more oil. Those are stirred. Try to put our cut side onion or cut side potatoes back face down. There we go. There we go. Alright, so now we're gonna make four nests in the potatoes. I'm gonna crack an egg into each of them. Okay.